Hello, this is Ray, one of the program presenters in the Atchison Planetarium at Cranbrook Institute of Science, with a look at the pre-dawn sky for the week of June 1st. Our morning sky is still dominated by 3 planets. Jupiter is due south at 4:30. To the left is Saturn. Mars is much farther to the left in the southeast. On the morning of the 5th, the moon is in the southwest. It's only 10 degrees above the horizon, so trees and buildings might block your view. The moon is located above and to the right of the star Antares, the heart of Scorpius the Scorpion. Antares is even closer to the horizon at 7 degrees. Remember the gigantic dipper we spotted in the east last week? The great square of Pegasus was the bowl, and 3 stars in a row to the left was the handle in Andromeda. If we extend that handle 1 more star to the left, we'll come to Merfac. It's in another constellation in the northeast. Its name is Perseus. Merfac is the brightest star in Perseus, so it's also known as Alpha Persei. Merfac also was called Algenib. That name comes from an Arabic word meaning the flank or the side. However, Algenib is also the name of a star in the great square of Pegasus. If you remember our baseball game analogy from last week, Algenib is the second base star. It's also known as Gamma Pegasi. Having 2 stars with the same name in different constellations was confusing. So when the proper names for stars were standardized, Alpha Persei's name was changed from Algenib to Merfac. Gamma Pegasi remained Algenib. Merfac, or Alpha Persei, is a yellow supergiant star. Its diameter is about 59 million miles, or about 95 million kilometers. That's about 60 times bigger than the Sun. If placed where the Sun is, Merfac would extend to the orbit of Mercury. As recently as 30 to 50 million years ago, it was a hot blue star, but it's cooling down as it ages. Merfac is around 500 to 600 light years from us. It's the brightest star in a star cluster called the Alpha Persei cluster. The cluster can be seen easily with binoculars. It's similar to the famous Pleiades star cluster in Taurus, and Merfac's name comes from an Arabic word meaning elbow of the Pleiades. The Alpha Persei cluster is estimated to be anywhere from 30 to 70 million years old. This cluster is called a moving group because the stars formed together and continue to move together through space. Perseus also has more impressive clusters than the Alpha Persei cluster. About 11 degrees, or slightly more than 1 fist width above Merfac, is a famous double cluster in Perseus, but you'll need binoculars or a telescope to see it. Another way to locate the double cluster is to start in the constellation of Cassiopeia. It's composed of 5 stars above Perseus and looks like a zigzag or a lopsided letter W on its side. Let's call the star at the lower left number 1. Number 2 is to the right. Number 3 is above 2 at the middle of the W. Number 4 is to the right of 3, and 5 is above 4. If we draw a line from star number 3 down to number 2 and extend it toward Perseus, we'll pass very close to the double cluster. The double cluster is one of the most magnificent deep sky objects. It can be seen with the naked eye in a dark sky that isn't bright with light pollution. It was seen in ancient times. As early as the year 130 BCE, the Greek astronomer Hipparchus noted it, but he didn't know what it was. It was just another one of those fuzzy patches of light. In mythology, it's said to represent the handle of the sword of Perseus. Much later, in 1603, the patch of light was considered to be 2 objects. They were named H and Chi Persei by astronomer Johann Bayer. They weren't included in Charles Messier's famous list, so they don't have M numbers, but they are identified in another catalog as NGC 869 and NGC 884. It wasn't until the early 19th century that astronomer William Herschel saw them as 2 separate star clusters with his telescope. The two clusters cover an area about twice the size of the full moon and are separated by about 800 light-years. The distance to NGC 869 is 6,800 light-years. NGC 884 is farther at 7,600 light-years. The fact that we can see them with the naked eye in a dark sky at such a great distance tells us that the stars are extremely bright. Each cluster contains 300 to 400 blue-white supergiant stars. The clusters are only around 12.8 million years old, so they're fairly young by star standards. The double cluster is located near the point from which the Perseid meteor shower radiates every August. They're in what's called the Perseus Arm of our Milky Way galaxy. Our solar system is located in the Orion Arm, so when we view the double cluster, we're looking from one arm of our galaxy out to another arm farther away from the center. Next week we'll be back in Perseus, observing another fascinating object. Sunrise on the 1st is at 5:57 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. By the end of the week, on the 6th, sunrise is at 5:55. We're almost at the earliest times of sunrise for the entire year. Thanks for visiting and keep looking up.